The book's laid out as though it's a combination of a rough guide to the city of Tligol and a teach yourself Tligolian with lessons and exercises. So how did you hit on this format?
Yeah, so I didn't hit on it straight away. So I just wanted to follow my character and to understand the city where she found herself. So it took a long. So the form of the book was almost the last to the merge, but it was also very natural. So like I couldn't get to the ending for some reason. Everything was kind of written, but the ending kept escaping. And then somebody suggested that a big change is coming in terms of the form. And when the change happened, I think that's when that's kind of when the ending happened.
Mm.
Or maybe I might be completely wrong about it as well, actually. But I think what I do remember is that I didn't realize as I was writing the book that it was all actually about learning that made-up language that she never actually does learn in the book. And I didn't know how important it was until almost the end. But now that I got there, it's actually been about the language all along. I really like teach yourself language books of all kinds as well. There's good ones from the 1960s, and they're actually books that you can use to learn a language. And there's the ones written in the 90s and thereafter that is some clever professors that I once met said they're basically just tourist guides masquerading themselves as language books. You don't really learn anything from them. So I think I've just written the ultimate bad language book, because not only you don't learn anything from it, but also like it's not a language and you just end up with nothing. So I hope that professor would be proud of me of this.
I think that's very fair. Tligol is such a complete city, from the appalling government to the excellent pastries. I was almost tempted to get out an atlas and look for it, and I was definitely thinking, so where is she placing this? It sort of feels like it's sort of over this bit of the map, you know. So how did you come up with the ideas that make Tligol convincing?
Yeah, so I think it's in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, I was thinking it has a sort of Czechoslovakian come Tashkent sort of vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think it's just like if you took me and kind of boiled me up a little bit and moved it around and like turned me into a city, I think that's what you'll end up with. So like I've never actually lived in any Eastern European cities. So I've lived in like in Russia, obviously, in Israel and Galway in Ireland. Should have said Petersburg instead of Russia, and I should have said Jerusalem instead of Israel. And yeah, I think if you boil those up, you'll end up with something like that. If you add a little bit of longing for like Barcelona or something. Again, it was not a sort of a pre-planned thing. I just I wanted to write about stuff, and the way I write, it's fairly intuitive. Like I just want to write what seems to be right. Like it's kind of like distinguishing between different kinds of imagination. There's the imagination that seems, yes, this is right. Of course, they have almond pastries and not any other.
Of course they do, yes.
Right, and then there is the wrong one that you can also end up writing. You know, like you add up some other types of food. And then you on second draft you look at it. Yeah, you just lied. They obviously don't have that. So that was kind of my thing. I was just kind of trying to follow that method. So and the city just sort of gradually emerged. So yeah, again, not a pre-planned thing, but one that makes sense to me in retrospect.
Yeah, and food is quite important, isn't it? In the book.
City.
Yes.
Oh, the city is very important. Yes. It's all about the city. Yeah,
and the food. Because I think somewhere that you've been writing about it, you're saying that you actually started with basically following your character around as you bought food.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Basically, so I figured out, I have a whole thing about, like, one of you might remember, we've had discussions about it in the past, about food and literature. And in general, I think that if it's a good book, the food will be good. And I don't just mean Christmas Carol, which is an obvious example, but also like A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man is not at all about food, and it's actually quite austere. Except when I first read it, and it's in chapter 3, and at the end, Stephen Dedalus is looking at sausages and white pudding, and he imagines having it for breakfast. And I'd never tasted those. I'd never tasted white pudding before I read it, and then I was like, "Yep, now I know what white pudding tastes like, and I want to have it for tea for breakfast." I'm not saying I've achieved anything as great as that, obviously, but I think food is. It has to be. It has to be part of writing.
It gives it the nuance, doesn't it?
It's everything. I was in a class.
There I was thinking it's all about time and language. No.
So, food is everything. Well, yeah. I was just in a class today where we were actually reading this Latin translation of the Bible and the Ezekiel story. And Ezekiel looks up, and God basically tells him, "Here, take it and eat what I tell you to eat." And it's the Bible itself that he has to eat. So if that doesn't prove that food and literature are deeply connected, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, fair enough. I just have this feeling that at some point we're going to have to produce a copy of this book on rice papers so you can eat it. Wouldn't be very tasty, I don't think. But
we might give the we might give an incorrect impression of the book. It doesn't actually feature that much food. I might have just got.
But when it does, it matters.
When it does, it matters. Yes.
Yes. I'm just thinking about the pies. But yes.
The pies are the best pies in the world.
The best pies in the world.
Yeah, there is a rumor that they're made of kitten meat, but other than that, and that's actually based on a true kind of type of pie that they sold in the Soviet Union, and it was a meat pie. And the rumor was there to prevent young people from, or like kids, buying those pies because they were not rumored to be very, very healthy for you.
Okay. Would you like to read us the first section?